All right. Good morning, everybody. Can everybody online hear us? Well, yes. All right. You're seeing a lot of nod your heads. Great. Thank you. Today is Tuesday, January 14, 2024, 10 a.m. And I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Can we confirm a quorum, please?
Okay. We do have Judy Jackson online, Kelly online, and then 4 board members in person. So we have a majority of the board in.
All right. Thank you. Item number 2, prior meetings the prior meetings are available on ADRE's YouTube channel. Links available on the agenda if you guys need it for any questions or if you guys want to review that. Advisory board member reports, item number 3. And before we go on to that item, do we have any guests or anything? Let's go ahead and should we start on Zoom, make it easier for introductions?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and start on Zoom. So everybody go ahead and introduce yourself. I'll start on the top left corner. Judy.
Good morning. My name is Judy Jackson. I'm the vice chair on the advisory board.
Thank you. Next, I see Nikki.
Good morning. I'm Nikki Salge. I'm a real estate attorney, just attending as a member of the public.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Gibbons. I need my glasses.
I had to take one out.
This is dirty. You're muted.
She's muted. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can.
Okay. My name is Paige Gibbons. I'm a local broker owner, just as a member of the public.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Ostrowski.
Good morning. I'm Shelley Ostrowski, and I am a broker and a member of the public.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Kelly.
We have member Shipley who joined.
Okay.
I'm Kelly Harrington, and I'm an advisory board member.
All right. So Mitchell.
My name is Jason Mitchell. I am I'm a owner of JMG, not a broker, but the owner of JMG.
All right. Thank you. Jones. Moving on me. Ms. Jones.
Yes, sorry, Serena Jones, member of the public and a broker.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Patrath. Lisa.
Patrath, president-elect of the Arizona Association of Realtors, also broker owner of Better Homes and Gardens up here in Flagstaff.
All right. Thank you. And the last name with the white is hiding on me, Christine. Is that Christine?
Member Shipley.
Good morning, Christine Shipley, representing the Arizona Multi-Housing Association, also the broker and president of Dunlap and McGee Property Management.
All right. Thank you. Did I miss anyone online?
Name not available.
Whose name not available? Yeah. Name not available. Is that on the phone or anyone there?
Should identify themselves.
No one's there. All right. We'll see if they pop up. Here in person.
Jim Knopf, Deputy Commissioner.
Ellie White, Associate Broker, member of the Real Estate Advisory Board.
Susan Nicholson, Commissioner.
Matia Rosales, Chair.
Rich Ramirez and Judy, they put me down as vice chair. I crossed it out. You're still vice chair.
Hear me.
Yeah.
More than welcome to take the position.
I'm Matt Cody with Cache Homes and member of the committee, or the board, excuse me.
Lynette Evans, Assistant Attorney General.
Thank you. Right.
Liz Ruffy, Assistant Commissioner.
Mandy Neat,
Commissioner.
Aaron Green, General Counsel of the Arizona Association of Realtors.
Carolina Serrano.
Good morning, Lena Yen, member of the public and a designated broker.
All right. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We'll go ahead and move on to the reports, advisory board member reports. Who do you want to start off with, Jim?
Ellie.
I've been hearing from several brokers recently about realtors who are buying fix and flips, and they're flipping them in violation of ARS 321121-A5. They're basically not identifying who the contractor is. They're generally not using contractors. Permits are not being pulled. And there's scenarios where once the deals are going through, that of course things are blowing up in the faces of the members of the public who've purchased said homes. the ARS, the statute is out there, but so many agents, first of all, and members of the public don't know. How do you report that? Who do you report it to? And how do we stop it? Because they're not going to know to go to a broker or to the commissioner. And so I feel like we've got to do something more to educate them, to say, hey, if you're a victim of this, here's something, here's an alley, here's a lane you can go down. I don't know. Are we just reporting to the brokers? Are we just hoping the brokers do it right? Do we come to the commissioner? What do we do?
Yeah, if I can, Chair. So the registrar of contractors is where they would actually investigate that.
Okay.
Unlicensed contracting, it is 321121 are the exemptions from the license. But otherwise, if you do not fall into one of those exemptions as a real estate licensee, you would need to have a contractor's license in addition to your real estate license. If you are fixing and flipping, that's some terminology that they use in ROC that typically refers to somebody who is not licensed, that is buying and flipping and turning it over to a new owner. There are very specific requirements if you are using the house as a primary residence, that you have to live in it for at least a year. There are exceptions to that, but you have to be able to prove that to the registrar of contractors. As our licensees, you should go to the registrar of contractors. You're welcome to let us know. We will forward them to the ROC. They exist. They investigate unlicensed contracting as part of their business model, and they would hold the unlicensed contractor, whether they're licensed with us or not, accountable.
Would that then fall back to coming to the department to say, hey, Realtor X is doing this, should we investigate their license, or do we not, as a Realtor board, care about that?
Yeah, so 322153 says that if you, as a real estate licensee, violate any other state or federal law, your license is public domain as it relates to real estate. And certainly, if you have violated registrar contractors and they have found you responsible, then they would turn that over to us, is what we're encouraging them, and we would open an investigation and hold our licensee accountable.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's real quick. Charles Lee says he's waiting to be admitted. I don't know where he's at.
Nobody needs admitted, but
okay, right, but
Maybe, well, somebody should reach out to Charlie if he is trying to.
He might be on the wrong meeting.
Might be.
Yeah. So also the Department of Real Estate does care about misrepresentation and incompetence. If a real estate licensee has knowledge that a house was flipped outside of the handyman exemption laws, then there is a duty of disclosure of material facts inside that transaction. Thanks to Ellie, we do have several open investigations right now, and wherever possible, we have been working with our broker community because sometimes we can stop things before harm is actually caused, and we can have this be a good learning experience. So I've made some specific phone calls, and I agree with you that this is something that's always been confusing to the industry, and a lot of licensees do not understand this aspect of law. I reached out to the registrar over at the Registrar of Contractors, and Director Cole and I are committed to doing a video and a podcast on this exact subject of when the ROC needs to be contacted, what his regulatory authority is. I'll cover where my regulatory authority is, and we will get that out in all of our communication channels that we have available so that we can put the tools out there. Because again, the belief is that if we know better, we do better. So we got to get the knowledge out there.
Thank you.
That would also include consequences of non-compliance.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yes, correct.
That's fantastic.
is there a certain part of across the street, but are you seeing this in a certain market, or is it?
Right now, it's very big in Paradise Valley, which is, a huge zip code here, the wealthiest homes in the city, let alone the state. And we've got realtor, owner, brokers who are creating LLCs, and they're not living in the homes, and they're not pulling permits, and they're saying in the MLS, complete reno down to the studs, complete remodel, 1977 home that now has everything that you can have for a 2023 home, from energy efficient this to Alexa that, and You couldn't have done that in that 1977 home. You'd have been lucky if you could have even put a Ring doorbell on it, you know? So Paradise Valley is huge right now with this.
And I'll say that is the other aspect that neither of us said is we're also involving cities when a permit has not been pulled.
Just about to ask that. If it's Paradise Valley specific.
Well, it's not specific, but that it's heavy. It's actually happening where I live, which is Desert Hills, and we're a unincorporated county. And people think, oh, it's a county. Oh, you can do anything you want in the county. You don't need to pull a permit. And our rules for a permit are actually stricter than the City of Phoenix rules. So it's not just, but it's the biggest dollar amount. And so consequently, I brought that up thinking when we hear big numbers. But when we think of bigger numbers, it makes us bring it to the forefront a little bit more because there are bigger dollar numbers being involved with people buying these homes. And of course, those people who are buying the homes, they're the ones who've got the money to bring a lawsuit, but do they know they can? Should they? Are they?
Yeah. One Ellie sent over was a $2 million change in value in less than a 1-year period in a non-owner occupied residence. And so that's certainly well over the $1,000 handyman exemption law.
And they're blatant. I mean, it's in the MLS. We can pull the MLS and it's like, here, you didn't not know. You're advertising this to the public.
It sounds like the outreach to the public, what the department is trying to do, that's going to be a big help. And unfortunately for communities, for counties and cities, unless someone reports it to them, it's not like the code enforcers out there looking for the issues. So someone will have to report it for them to actually go out and put a stop order, hey, where's your permits and so forth. So that is unfortunate. Sadly. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Mr. Chairman, to this point of order, you said that Charlie was trying to get in. I don't see him.
I guess, I don't know, I got a weird
And
email.
we also
thing,
have
so.
Sally Ireland who joined.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, she's sitting by the fire.
Don't want to join her. Just to have the record reflected.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, the meeting is open to anyone, so you don't need me to admit you. So it's,
Yeah, that's what I was seeing. I think Charlie might be in the wrong meeting.
yeah.
Well, I sent him the one that's on the calendar too right now via text, so he says that's the one I'm in. I don't know. Okay, so it might be his side.
Luis, your report. Sorry.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioner. As I always do, I'd love to give a quick update on what's happening in our border communities. San Luis, Nogales, and Douglas are principal gateways for training. We're on track to break records in both the volume of trade that we're having in Mexico as well as the number of trucks crossing the border between Arizona and Mexico. More importantly, for this discussion, we have the San Luis One port of entry in the downtown area in San Luis. Former councilman, former vice mayor, Rosales knows this very well. The project's very much well underway. And in fact, by June of next year, the first phase of the port of entry will be completed, which will take the port from 8 northbound car lanes to 16 northbound car lanes. It's going to be one of the largest ports for commercial non-commercial traffic. Then there's still additional phases that will finish the pedestrian crossings and then the southbound operations. It's a tremendous amount of work that is taking place in coordination with Mexico, but also the city of San Luis is undertaking the modernization of the Cesar Chavez Boulevard, which is the largest east-west connector. That is opening up tremendous amounts of opportunity for development, both commercial, residential, maybe some light industrial. But it continues to be an area of tremendous need. It is now, I think, 36,000 population, Mr. Chairman, or 36, 38?
38,
Something
yeah.
closer to 38,000. Fastest growing, one of the fastest growing communities in Arizona. So it's exciting. Federal investment is between 350 to 400 million dollars. When you have that type of investment, the repercussions, it's such a catalyst for economic development in the entire region that the opportunities for investment in residential, retail, restaurants, entertainment, dining is tremendous. San Luis will probably process about 8 to 9 million people crossing the border northbound in San Luis alone. In 2024, we're waiting for the numbers for December, so I don't have a final tally. Douglas, over in the far east corner of the state, we're about to break ground on $450 to $500 million 2 projects. One is the construction of a new commercial crossing, 4.5 miles to the west of the downtown area in Douglas. That'll be a new commercial facility, taking all commercial operations out of downtown to this new facility, state-of-the-art in design. And it'll require a similar investment on the Mexican side. That port alone is going to be about $280 to $320 million. In addition, there is a utilities corridor. This is where I wanted to get to. Utilities corridor is about 4 miles of water, wastewater, electric, natural gas, and broadband corridor, which opens up 4.5 miles of land for new development. Douglas, it's our smallest border community, about 16,000 people. But the speculation on the land in Douglas has just skyrocketed. It went from $400 or $500 an acre about 5-6 years ago to in the $10,000 or $20,000 range for the same land. No, but now that we have the utilities corridor coming in, it is prime areas for development. So we're very excited. Tremendous challenges in Douglas, particularly in housing. All the federal employees, Customs, Border Patrol, National Guard, and the like, they end up staying in Sierra Vista and commute 55 minutes each day. Not terrible, but it's not very convenient. So the development for residential in the Douglas area is a tremendous opportunity. Finally, and Mr. Chairman, I know I'm taking too much time. We're starting the process to modernize the deconceiving port of entry in Nogales. Initial back of the envelope estimates is that project probably be in 3 phases, will be between $1 to $2 billion project. The city of Nogales, Santa Cruz County, and a number of other stakeholders are undertaking a study with in partnership with the EPA and GSA, a study for the downtown revitalization. Downtown Nogales, the retail has really plummeted. We have not seen a change in the type of retail that's available, so there is tremendous opportunity again in Nogales downtown for retail, dining, and hospitality. And those are 3 areas that the community, in broad sense community, has identified as areas of opportunity. And when you have $1 billion, $2 billion of federal investment, everything around it, it just becomes tremendous opportunity for new investment, new developments. And Nogales, like all the other border communities, is also desperate for additional housing. And the last thing I will say is that there is a new mine development outside of Nogales, about 14 miles east. It's a Australian company that's investing $2.6 billion in the mine. They will not be producing until 2027, stuff coming out of the ground physically. But just in the construction phase, they're generating about, for 3-4 years, 800 jobs. Then there's all the permanent jobs that come along with the 30-40 years that the mine is intended to be operated. Nogales and Santa Cruz County are poised for tremendous growth. And again, if anybody has any questions on any of these projects, we have a lot more detail. Love to arrange for specific visits for those communities, for anyone that is interested in the development opportunities in our border communities. Very bullish on what's going on our border between Arizona and Mexico. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Tremendous impact economically for all the communities and the whole thing, especially in the development. Thank you.
Sure. I don't have anything new to share.
Member Bowles has joined.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Nothing to share. Thank you.
Online, we'll go ahead and go to Ms. Jackson. Anything to add to the reports?
No report?
A report, okay. Who is next?
Ms. Harrington.
Ms. Harrington?
Yeah, just briefly, I don't have much to report. Just that I think I mentioned this in the last meeting, but we continue to see an uptick in land fraud out here in Pinal County. I know of 2 specific cases that personally, one that my office is dealing with of a listing that we have, and that actually the land fraud already happened. So we're trying to kind of get it reversed. And then there's another one of a fellow agent that I know of that they just discovered it. The problem is trying to get law enforcement or the county to do anything about it. They don't really seem to have an urgency. My fellow coworker, I did tell her to reach out to the Department of Real Estate, because I know you guys had mentioned last time that you'll take action if you hear about stuff like that. But it's definitely a rising problem, especially with the vacant land and all of the out-of-state owners. They're just not watching their properties, so they don't know that it's happening and stuff's getting stolen right out from under them.
Mr. Chair, for me?
Yes, please.
So in a meeting with, what was the council of all the law enforcement prosecutors?
Oh, you asked me too quick.
Uh-huh.
APAC,
APAC. The
Arizona Prosecuting Attorneys Association Council or something.
something very close to that. That's not correct.
Those words are there.
It is all there. The state attorney general had sent on her behalf Nick Klingerman, who is in charge, I believe, of the criminal side of investigations over at the Attorney General's office, and he has made a commitment to take on deed fraud with the Department of Real Estate. So, Member Harrington, if you could please encourage these to be reported if they haven't already made their way to the Attorney General's office, or if they need any help navigating that, this department is more than happy, and we do have those direct dial quick connections to help the people of Arizona in that way.
And I'll be touching on a bit of legislation that we're going to be proposing related to deed fraud in my report.
Yeah, I encountered the same thing early on in the investigation of property theft with local law enforcement, just really not understanding it. And thankfully, the chief of the criminal side over at the AG's office was, stood up and said, I'm going to own it. So we have that.
Thank you so much.
Membership.
Shipley.
Yes, good afternoon. Nothing new to report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bolt.
Mr. Bowles. You're muted, Mr. Bowles. Anything to report? You're still muted.
The other button.
The other button, yeah, might be depends if you called in or. All right, we'll come back to you in case you do get your mic back on because you are muted still. On my end, I'll go ahead. Is there anyone else left? No.
You're
myself, yeah. I did get a call yesterday, and it's just it was a curiosity, I guess, because they knew we were having the meeting today. The process in regards to they received like a email a year ago that they were named in a complaint, and they haven't heard anything since then. They don't know if it's because they were not part of the complaint, they were just named in it because they were on the opposite side of the transaction. So they don't know if they should reach out to someone or if no news is good news. And that was just the question to ask if they don't get a notice, that means they were just notified that they're somewhere or not. I told them to reach out to the message center.
Yeah.
But for some reason they're like, well, can you just ask? And
we can certainly look to see what's happened to the case, but I can tell you it's not open anymore.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
A year ago.
Yeah, I figured. I told them it's probably you were notified because your name was there because you were on the other side of the transaction and it probably got closed out and you didn't get anything.
Never subpoenaed or
nothing or anything, right? So that's why I'm concerned. And then going to the deed fraud, what we've been seeing a lot also in the rental community is, and same issue as you, Ms. Harrington, is the police doesn't seem to really know what to do or can do anything, is rental clonings. We've seen a lot of people cloning the listings for rentals and marketing them for a lot less, making it too good to be true, like a $500 deposit, move in, wire money, give me a Zelly. I myself have had 3 prospects in my area get defrauded because of that, and we've been able to call the police and give them the media profile, and all they do is take the report and say there's not much we could do, or report it to the social cyber crimes at the FBI. But that is a big, so we started watermarking our photos, so at least if they steal them, they know that the brokerage is there.
Thank you.
But that is enough big.
I'm good.
The same person, you see the profile, and they have different properties in different parts of the country, Nevada, California, state. So we've seen that a lot in the Yuma County. I don't know if that's big out here if you guys have been getting.
Mr. Chair, if I may. So we do report those instances that we become aware of to the Attorney General's office. We work with John Carroll, who's an investigator there. My understanding is that right now those do get reported up to IC3. So that may be something that we can open up a discussion with the Attorney General's office and see if this is more organized crime, one-offs that we're chasing, local law enforcement, something the state can get involved in. So happy to do that. Thank you for bringing that forward.
So as a general member who would,
Mhm.
like myself, would I mean, obviously I'm gonna go through my license for the message. Who, is there an email you would send? Hey, this is, who do you report that to?
So when it comes to the Department of Real Estate, it's not licensed activity that we
Right.
can regulate.
Right.
But we don't just say, oh, it's not us, and, you know, let it die. We get it
Right.
over. So we've had the conversation with the Attorney General's office in the property crimes area. And right now, everything is going to IC3, which is the Internet Crimes Department of the FBI.
Okay, so
And so that may be something, you know, I'm certainly happy to engage with the Attorney General's office in a discussion to see if that's something that we can maybe bring back down to a state level. We would have to do a lot of work with our licensees and the public to get enough reported in to start tracking it, similar to how we did with deed fraud, to see if there are patterns and things that we can sort of establish in that crime.
Okay.
Yeah, happy to do that though.
appreciate it.
I'll say, do keep the complaints coming to us. We will vet them and then get them to the Attorney General.
Mhm.
And with that relationship that we've built, they take our complaints that we forward to them, I would say, very seriously.
Mhm.
So it's just have, if someone is having that issue, just have them email it directly to your email address, or is there a different email that we should?
Not mine, I think Message Center, right?
Message center is where you would file an investigation and we look at those daily.
Yep.
And if it's something urgent, they would call the department and we would say, okay, we'll look through that one immediately. So when it's a pressing issue, we did have a situation where somebody's home was listed incorrectly and the lady was being harassed. It was listed on Zillow and the lady was showing up in person on Zillow on her yard because of this. And we were able to contact Zillow, explain the situation and have that immediately removed, proving that it was not the actual owner listing that property. So we have been very proactive in the situations we can assist with. Unfortunately, not all websites are that reachable. Most are not. So we do work with Don Carroll. I just spoke to him today and spoke to a lady, to Kelly's report from Casa Grande, who just stopped a huge property from being stolen and developed a new relationship with the seller. So we are very much working with the AG's office on a regular basis and have a direct connection. But if you don't send it through Message Center and you send it to someone directly, the issue is, what if we took a vacation? It would be so nice to take a vacation, but what if, you know, we don't want it stuck in someone's inbox. We want it in the Message Center. So whoever is taking care of things at that time know how to react and urgently press things forward. And when it's someone's property being misadvertised, we don't take that lightly either, because we also all understand the harm that can come to that homeowner.
And then the final layer to add to that is the Department of Real Estate actively tracks property crimes and predatory practices in the real estate industry that are outside of our regulatory authority, so that we can have a bigger picture to bring when we do have discussions with other agencies or with lawmakers or the governor's office about overall trends of what we need to do to protect the people of Arizona from property crimes.
And I'll be honest, I've never reported anything on the Message Center, so I don't know the process. But as a general, as a Good Samaritan, for example, if I have a person that I know got frauded out of the deposit, I should go in there through my Message Center and say, this person had this issue. They're not my clients. They're not just the general. There's a general selection for something like that.
Yep.
Okay. Right.
General information or file a complaint. File a complaint would be most effective.
Pass it along.
And it looks like Member Bowles figured out the unmute. If we
Mr.
want to go
Bowles,
back
are
to
you able to unmute to provide a report? Charlie? Maybe not. There you go. Anything to report on your end, sir?
No report, Matthias.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. That's all the reports.
That's all the
All right. Moving on to the next item, number 4, consideration approval of the attorney board's letter to the governor pursuant ARS 322104. If everybody got a chance to review addendum A, it is, I got notified on Thursday, I guess, that we provided an evaluation for the department and in regards to this year's activity. So I don't know if everybody had any questions. This is the letter that I'm preparing or that I signed and sent out. I don't know what the process, like I said, I'm green here, so
yeah,
you explain it.
So yeah, traditionally the department provides the chair a draft of a letter providing the statistics for the past year, any information related to the department, and then the chair has the ability to make any changes, and then those changes would need the letter in its totality would need to be approved by the board to send to the governor's office. this is how we've met the evaluation criteria of the requirement in the past. I asked Lynette to specifically come today to ensure that we are able to meet the evaluation criteria in some manner.
In a perfect world, I wish I would have preferred to have more time. I mean, I got this on Thursday night and wanted it back by Friday. I would have reached out to all the board members and advisory and get some input and prepare more, I don't know, get everybody's opinion, but I had to have it in there before 10 o'clock on Monday, and I just, reached out and got some information from stakeholders across and added the issues that we've been hearing at the meetings in the past 2 meetings that we've had, and concerns to the direction and in regards to communication, and probably continue the hard work that this department and the staff have been doing, and see how we can improve that for this coming year. So if anyone has any questions, I mean, so here is ask discussion or motion to approve, or how does?
You'd hold discuss, it's just like a normal item. You'd have discussion and then a motion and.
Normally we do the motion first, right? And then discussion?
Yes, motion to.
So do you have a motion to open or approve the letter for discussion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
To approve the letter or to discuss?
For the.
So the motion is to approve the letter. Needs a second. I apologize for jumping in.
You're good. Second, so we could go to open
But then we
discussion.
can go into an open discussion. Exactly.
Yeah. So do we have a second, so we can open up discussion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion with second. Any discussion on the item? I do discussion.
Okay, I'm happy to start.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Quinn.
Like I'm kind of the freshman here. I think I'm ending my first year, which means 4 meetings, right? So, and I think it's either that or it's the next meeting. So kind of learn. And I just want to make sure just that Matthias, as the chair, has written the letter, or that you wrote it for his review.
I wrote a draft. Matthias has made changes, and so does Matthias's letter.
Okay, so you prepared something that you reviewed then?
Right.
Because I did, and I don't, because some of this stuff is on the recommendation. I'm just not sure if I really understand or have enough familiarity. So the one sentence at the bottom of the first page, and there's 2 sentences, page on the top of the next page. There's a concern that within the industry that retaliatory actions are taken against those who speak out against the department or even raise questions. Well, I have no knowledge of that. I mean, so I don't know if that's just a comment. And then it goes on to say that the perception exists that this is done through the initiation of audits, subpoenas, investigations, and even includes the refusal to approve continuing education classes. Again, as a new guy here, well, I think those are pretty offensive sentences. And therefore, I didn't know whether that, I mean, I have no knowledge of that going on. And I've got a whopping, as I said, 1 year under my belt. Anyway, and I know that there was a little bit of a spirited conversation in our last meeting, with a couple of people on the board, but I didn't think there was more than 1 or 2 additional educators there. So it just seemed, and to me, it was a wordsmithing thing. I think even when you went on to talk about that there were numerous educators, and it's I didn't feel it was numerous. I thought there was 1 or 2. There were some that are on the board. And that the department chose to be defensive and disparaging. I thought, again, I don't have enough experience. I didn't feel it was disparaging conversation. So I just wasn't sure what, and then I don't have enough experience in the paragraph that talks about in 2024, the updating the second to last paragraph. So I just don't know what we're talking about there. I don't have enough experience. So I didn't know whether, if this is on behalf of all of us or, because I don't know that I'm aware of any retaliatory practices. Some of those felt like they were maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't, if this was being written about me, I probably wouldn't be thrilled with a couple of those. So that's why I was curious as to what the origin of that is. But that's the practice. I didn't feel that, I don't have knowledge of that.
Yeah, Chair, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the letter I wrote is very neutral. It's very, data driven, says what the department has accomplished. Each of the comments that you've made relate to something the chair added.
Okay. But I don't have a dog in the fight. I just felt like the wordsmith, it can leave an entirely
And that is,
Strong opinion.
and that is where, when I got the email Thursday afternoon for an evaluation, too many evaluations of the department as a whole. This letter is not specific to one person. This is the information that at least I'm hearing out there from the stakeholders and from other members and licensees. You're right. It's you might not hear anything, but I have been hearing. And I'll go back to the conversation earlier I brought up about the person that called me yesterday. My first response to them, why don't you call the department? We're scared to call the department. Again, I'm not blaming anyone in the department, but for whatever reason, they're out there having that assumption of why, I don't know. That's why the intent of the letter, again, if I would have had more time or more explanation on what this is supposed to be, if it's data driven, then maybe I misread the email, but I'll just say, we need an evaluation, it's due by tomorrow. Went back and got information from different people, not just one person, different people around me, because I do serve at ADRE, which is one of the largest member-driven 55,000 licensees or realtor members. And put stuff together and got stuff together and put it together in regards to what we've been discussing this past year. The department's done great since the commissioner's taken over. We've updated, we moved in a great direction, but I think we've lost a little bit of that stakeholder or that outreach. Because for someone to call me yesterday and not reach out to the department and ask that question that I asked earlier, I don't know who this person was. Hey, I applaud you for being the chair. I see you're having a meeting tomorrow. I'd rather not give you my name, but this is what I want to find out. Can you answer this question? Well, it's kind of hard if you're not giving me names and you want to remain anonymous. So that puts you guys in a position as well. So, but again, for that person to reach out to me, the only thing I was able to get out of them who the broker was, company-wise, not just office or anything. So I have received some of those comments, and it's some comments that I've seen around. But again, if I would have had more time or more, probably like 3 weeks in advance, hey, next meeting, you got to prepare this, I would have reached out to all the advisory members. Hey, you guys want to provide me your 5 cents and put it there together based on the advisor, because we're here to advise the commissioner on behalf of the government. I mean, that's what we're appointed for. Mr.
Chairman, is there a deadline by which such date that this letter has to be submitted?
It's an annual report or an annual evaluation.
Is there a tradition?
Tradition is January meeting.
The January meeting where we submit the letter, we approve it and submit it during this January meeting. Thank you.
And we do have a member of the public that wants to speak. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes. If I am allowed to speak here, am I allowed to speak here?
I'll open it up to the public. It's usually towards the end, but I'll go ahead and open up right now to the public since we are discussing this item. Go ahead, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. First, I want to start by saying hello to Mr. Cody. I haven't seen Matt in a long time, and let me tell you, I had the privilege of working with him many years ago, and that gentleman is as good as it gets. So it's good to see you, Matt. I got wind of a letter that through one of my colleagues, who's one of the top agents in the state, and this is the reason I've never joined a meeting like this, but I actually felt compelled to do so because I feel very passionate about my career and the department, because without the department, we wouldn't have what we have. And I think leadership is top down. But I did hear that there was a letter written about the department and the department being unfair to licensees and a lot of other what you would call bad practices. And I heard this through a colleague of mine, and I asked him, I said, I couldn't disagree with that more. And he actually said, yeah, I agree with you. And I think a lot of people agree with you. And so I wanted to join this call to say to all of you on the board and everybody at the department, I think this is the best real estate department in my 19-year career. I think we have a very fair department. I think we have a department that is pro-business. I think we have a department that looks out for their agents better than they ever have before. I think it's top down. I think it starts with Susan and her department. But as one of the top real estate professionals in the state and in the country, I wanted to just come on here and take a minute to say, I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, because it's noticeable to us licensees. This is the best real estate department that we've ever had. I've never had a department that's pro-business and pro-agents and for what we're doing, and also still looking after consumers at the same time. But my opinion to everybody on this board, this is the best real estate department that we've ever had.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Did you get a chance to review the letter? You said you heard about it, but did you get to read it?
I did not read the whole letter. I read, and actually, I'm sure a lot of it was paraphrasing from the gentleman that had mentioned to me what what he read in the letter. So no, I have not read the full letter.
Okay, I just want to make sure for the record, it is public. It was posted on the agenda for the department as of yesterday morning within the 24-hour notice. So it is not a letter that's hidden and trying to be kept internal. It was posted in the agenda for everybody to have access.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak? Ms. Shipley, raise your hand. Or Ms. Gibbons, raise your hand first. Okay. Ms. Gibbons? I think you're muted, Ms. Gibbons. We'll come back to you once you're mute, Ms. Shipley.
Yes, I just want to say that I think starting an evaluation of performance of the department, you know, with personal opinions about how much time was granted to draft the letter, is probably not an appropriate place, in my opinion, to start. I would strongly encourage that if assistance is needed in this and we don't have time to reach out to the advisory board, that perhaps we could visit prior letters that were issued or evaluations in the same matter. Even if we don't agree with them, it would give us format of the basis. And I think it's already been spoken to in regards to generalized comments about, you know, the lack of professionalism of the department, which I strongly disagree with. But I think that when we start saying, you know, statements like licensees complain, that we really need to analyze how many licensees that is really a part of our whole. And when we look at how we close, you know, go into the closure of the letter, that there are 83,000 current licensees, I think that the complaints that we've heard just over the past few months are grossly less than 1% of the total. And so I think an annual evaluation where we focus on the very, very few of our industry as a whole is troublesome to me. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Shipley. Ms. Gibbons, were you able to unmute? There we go.
Yes, sorry, my button wasn't working for some reason.
No worries.
I came on here today because I also, the same as Mr. Mitchell and Ms. Shipley, got wind of the letter and went in and read. And I feel like as a small broker owner who's very involved in the industry, I have been a realtor here for over 20 years and just involved in a lot of different organizations around the state. And I feel like this letter feels more personal. And it feels like it is more written from specific organizations rather than the how the industry itself feels. I'm out there a lot and I do not receive the same information. I do not feel like the general public and or other realtors and people who aren't realtors, people who are real estate agents. And I have personally been involved in at least 2 quote unquote open houses that the department has held where Commissioner Nicholson just wanted to hear feedback from the industry. And in my 20 years, I have never been involved in anything like that. The department was not open to that before. I believe this department is much more open to listening and interested in hearing feedback and has the public interests, at heart. And I just think this letter is a misrepresentation of how the industry as a whole sees this department.
Agree.
Respect your opinions. Thank you. Go ahead.
I think I'd like to start by reiterating what Christine said. It starts off very just wrong. This is my 4th meeting too. And I remember my first meeting where this letter was being prepared by, I think it was Bill Gray, if my memory serves. So I knew it was coming. So I'm sorry that you didn't. And I just feel like, you know, maybe that was just not you not knowing where this went. But like, so that was the first thing, because I remember thinking, are we going to have a conversation as a board about this? And then nothing happened. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to do a pro forma, everything's fine. But then when I saw this, I'm like, this reminds me, and everyone on the board will know this, of the emails we were being flooded with right before the last meeting and all the way through till a couple of weeks ago by some aggrieved instructors who have suddenly been told to do things right. There's 100 instructors out there doing great jobs. They're doing it the way they're told, they're doing it the way they need to do it, and suddenly someone's come along and said, we're changing things slightly because of laws. We need you to do this. I don't want to. Oh my God, no, I've done it like this 100 years. They're upset. And I'm sorry they're upset, but this is the way things move. This is the way things grow. And I think this department is the best I have ever seen in my short 12 years. It is approachable. We can pick up the phone, we can email, we can reach out, and that never existed. It took me 2 years to become a department monitor for education. Do you know why? Because no one at the department would respond to my applications. Jim Nutt came on board. I got approved. This has been an amazing, amazing 2 years. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I just can't believe what you guys are doing in the face of such adversity. I do not agree with this letter in any way, shape, or form, Matthias. I'm embarrassed. Just embarrassed.
And again, the department's done a great job. I agree with you totally, but there is room for improvement. And if you're not getting those complaints, I am speaking as I've been appointed for the membership at large. I'm getting the phone calls. I've been a realtor since 2008, and this is my third commissioner, third department. The past year and a half, I've seen more issues in regards to the communication and the changes. Change is hard, but maybe that's where we need to improve on that outreach. And we've had a meeting in October. It got a little bit heated. We brought up issues in the past, and I'm reporting what I'm hearing from the stakeholders. Not just from one person, not from a group of 5 people. This is what I'm hearing when I go. I sit as a chair for the risk management for AAR. So I'm not just making this up, I'm hearing this. Now, I'm not saying the department hasn't done a great job. The department has done a great job. They've done what they can with the technology, the funding, but there's room for improvement, and this is all this was meant to be. Now, granted, if I only had a day and a half to prepare the letter, I'm the chair, I follow the instructions from the department. I got the email Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And it wasn't explained to me in that sense, this is a data-driven. Yesterday, I called Charlie to ask his opinion because he's been the chair for the past 3 years. He told me in the past, he's gotten a letter also pre-printed by the department, and he's done changes as well. Again, I learned this from Charlie. Now, if I would have had a little bit more longer time, maybe, my goal would have been, all right, let me reach out to everybody on the advisory board because we're here appointed to advise the commissioner and what we hear from the stakeholders. I'm here representing the realtor community, not the licensees, the realtor community. I'm a licensee, but I'm also a realtor. And these are the complaints that I've been hearing. Nothing, if someone is taking it personal, that is on your end. I'm just reporting what I'm hearing.
Well, I wouldn't take it personal, but I would certainly take the notion that we have to understand something very clear. I'm a realtor as well, too.
Hold on, Mitchell. Please raise your hand. Wait, let me finish. Again, since I lost my train of thought. If this is hitting the wrong spot, then as a department, we could vote it down and you guys want to take, I don't know. Again, I'm glad Lisa asked this question because I wasn't told that it's normally this or it could be approved next time. Let's all get together and write a letter and put it together to provide to the governor. But again, I'm respecting your opinions. I'm not attacking you. I'm not telling you that you're wrong or right. I'm telling you what I'm reporting, what I'm hearing from the industry. Right. That's what I'm doing. And that is my job and function as a chair and also representing the advisory board.
I think that's fair, but I do also think that I think anything in life needs improvement. I think Cache Homes is one of the best builders in the state, but I'm sure Matt says, where can we improve every day of his life as an entrepreneur? But the reality is that where do we come into the play of understanding that whether or not a couple people are like, no one's ever going to be happy with everything. But I'm telling you as somebody that's been a top agent in this state for a very long time and knows a lot of people in this state that are also top producers and who I look at as my colleagues, the women on this call. I'm here to tell you, I don't agree with you. I think this is the best department we've ever had. And I think that the department deserves an award, not to be put on the rails here and trying to defend themselves by saying, but we need to improve because I'm hearing this. I'm telling you, this is the best department we have. It's never been more the ability to communicate with this department and to actually have common sense discussions than we have today. And that's what a department should represent. It should represent its people and to be able to have common sense discussions on what we're doing, where before it wasn't that way. Before it was black and white, there's no discussion. You could barely communicate with the department. And so I'm sorry, I disagree with the sentiment that, you know, anybody can improve, but my God, this department has done a hell of a job.
Mr. Mitchell, thank you. I'll remind the public members, you will need to raise your hand.
Thank you.
Members of this board do have the right, the prerogative, the priority to speak on a measure that has a motion to it. So I'll ask you to wait for the chair to call on you.
Oh, Mr. Mitchell left.
And Serena Jones has her hand raised.
Where is she?
Right in the middle.
Hi.
Oh, no camera. Ms. Jones, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say I agree with everything that everyone is saying. I think the members of the members that I have heard from that have had complaints, usually their complaints are about the fact that they don't want to do things the way the law has stated or the way it should be done, and they're bitter about things being done correctly. And I applaud the department for trying to improve and raise the bar and make sure that agents out there are deserving of the respect that we have as licensees. And I think that improving our industry, it should be a priority. So I agree with everyone saying. I wanted to say ditto, but also, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Well, Chair, I will clarify, Charlie and I did work on the letter, yes, last year, right before, or I guess Chair Clifton had resigned for personal reasons, and Charlie stepped in for that meeting. I prepared the letter in the same fashion that I prepared it for you. Charlie, I believe, made 2 or 3 edits to that letter. So they were not as substantial, but of course you as chair have the prerogative to make the changes, but of course it does have to be approved by the board. I think we have the opportunity going forward to, Lynette's going to have to weigh in on how well you're going to be able to communicate with board members without violating open meeting law. I think we have an opportunity to discuss what an evaluation looks like in the future, as well as what this letter may turn into.
Well, open meeting law, I mean, it's just blank copy and ask everybody for the opinion and sent in to me. We're not having a discussion, and if I'm correct, I mean, as long as I get opinion and
I'd like to comment directly from
yeah,
the expert.
from the expert.
Sure. No, I think there's a process that can allow for that. I just would be careful, right, that you're not communicating back to the members the feedback that you're getting, and that there's a discussion at a meeting to talk about the specifics of the finalized letter. So I just be a little careful in that communication, make sure you're not passing information amongst the other members.
And other boards that have served, staff will send an email to all the board members, say, please provide your comments or evaluation back to staff, and staff provides it to the chair. And then from there, we go ahead and prepare our letters. I mean, that's.
I think that would be an acceptable process.
Correct.
Would it also be acceptable to have a work session of the board?
It could be,
Non-voting
that
to
would be a
review the
meeting,
letter?
right? That would also be an open meeting though, where you would.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, you could have something along those lines as well, and that would comply with open meeting requirements.
Thank you. All right, any other questions here? Now we have a motion, we have a second. Call for vote then, or? No, we should please. Mr. Shipley, go ahead.
I did want to add one more thing. I think if we do move forward with a revision of the letter, I think that we should consider adding things that have been accomplished over the past year. I would like to see the addition of closed cases. We have such a large backlog of cases that have now been closed and that are investigated timely. I think we should consider the addition of the town halls that we hear over and over again, have allowed the public to come forward and have open communication with the department. I think we should talk about the rehaul or the overview of the education process. that took hours and hours of time of the department to literally sift through all of our education material and make sure that as an industry, we have the most current, useful, educational materials provided. And I also think that we should add, we have really, I feel the department has created over the last year a relationship with our Attorney General's office so that we have the ability now not to just answer a call from the general public by saying, oh, the department doesn't handle that. Instead, the department has created a relationship that allows referrals, that provides immediate real-time assistance to the members of the general public by the link to our Attorney General. And thank you for allowing those additional comments in this matter.
Ms. Shipley, I will ask, when you get that email asking for your input, please provide all that in writing to staff so that we can make sure we get out that.
And since it's been requested, we'll put a list of accomplishments together for you, Shipley.
Thank you.
And I would be happy to. Thank you for that invite. Yes, sir.
Mr. Ramirez?
Two items. Instead of what I'm getting before we call the question, it seems to me that there's some editing that needs to be done on the letter. And so while maybe we're violating tradition, we're not violating a specific timeline.
Correct.
I would be open to withdrawing my motion to approve the letter, allow the board to review, submit comments on the letter.
Bring it back.
And then maybe we could even, if we need to, I think we have the ability to call a special session for a vote.
Right.
Not wait until the next scheduled meeting if we need to, so we can move expeditiously on the approval of a revised letter. So with that, Jim, you tell me the procedures. I'm happy to withdraw my motion to approve this letter.
Yeah, you're welcome to withdraw your motion. It would need to be agreed to by the second.
Yes, the second has to approve it. Yeah.
So Ms. Harrington?
Yeah, I'll second.
I would want instruction on, do you want a work session or are you okay with just going straight to?
Yeah.
In writing.
I'm happy to solicit feedback from all members, get you that feedback.
Let's get the feedback and then we'll decide on the work session part of it, depending on the feedback we get, because
Right.
nothing and getting it back is a different thing. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So members, I would advise be prepared for likely a February meeting, and we'll get it scheduled as quickly as possible. We'll set a date today or tomorrow.
I gotta tell you, Jim, I'm sorry, I'm probably jumping out of order. I didn't raise my hand. But for whatever reasons, this is the most engaged board has been on the letters. And all the years that I've been involved. And I'm actually happy that this is happening.
Been a rubber stamp.
I didn't know about it.
It's almost been
2 days
you
ago.
show up and you go here, vote aye.
Yep.
I'm happy to see the engagement.
Yep.
And I think this is a healthy discussion to be had. There's been, some people have communicated their displeasure, but I've never seen as many hearts and applauses and waves on screen as we've had today. Clearly, there has to be perhaps a more balanced messaging in the letter. But I'm happy to, and I really want to make sure that people understand this is a healthy discussion to have. Maybe it was needed.
And as the department has changed in the past 2 years, this is something different too. We're breaking out tradition and making it a different process. So that's healthy discussion. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. All right,
Mr. Cook.
I just want to make sure. So Jim, you actually know what the requirement is as far as what we're supposed to be sending, right? I mean, what the contents of it's supposed to be.
There is no dictation as to that. The statute simply says annually the board shall send an evaluation to the governor's office on the department and the commissioner.
And you feel though, in your experiences, and is that we're in the neighborhood, and now the goal is to send this, and I assume we've done this before the meeting, if the time permitted. You can send it to anybody individually as long as there's not a group discussion,
Right.
and get back.
Correct.
Add it to be incorporated.
Just don't reply to all.
And if there were conflicting comments, then it would say, gosh, here's some things we ought to talk about in the meeting, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Correct.
so that's, and that may or may not then lead to an additional meeting in February. But the first start is that you're gonna to take some edit, send the letter to everybody, ask for some edits, incorporate them, and then send it to the chair to see if this makes sense before. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. And I'll also give the chair all the comments that I've received.
I mean, it doesn't seem to me that, I mean, we could spend hours drafting a letter. It just seems like if you could kind of maybe get us to where, gosh, here are the 3 or 4 things that there's some debate on whether they need to be included or not.
Right.
Versus us starting.
ChatGPT it down to a.
Yeah. So I think that was.
Hey, I wouldn't do that.
Well, not you, but I mean, you're personally doing it. But you're gonna see what's duplicated in everybody's comments and.
You could get it down to those items that require discussion. Otherwise, we're gonna wordsmith for days.
Yep, agreed. Yeah.
All right.
Karen.
Yes, sir.
Member Ramirez.
Hi, Mike.
Oh, okay.
And also, I guess the discussion, I think, illustrates one point that I think needs to be reflected in whatever versions of the letter. And I don't know if I'm jumping out of order, and she will tell me if I am, but it's, although maybe signed by the chair, it is a letter on behalf of the board, right?
That was my.
So when there's a signature, respectfully, on behalf of the board, because we are approving it as a board, correct?
And that is the chair. That's a change that I made with Lewis. I read the statute and it was, no, it's not the chair sends a letter. It's the board sends an evaluation. And so prior to that, Charlie is correct. We presented as a department the letter on the January meeting date. It was never discussed, never voted on. And that to me didn't meet the statutory.
That I remember. I'm probably one of the longer serving. I used to be the newbie. I'm not a newbie. Not anymore. But yeah, that's the way it used to be. We used to get more informational about the letter. So that's why I'm saying this discussion is, I believe, very healthy to have. And I'm so happy to see the engagement. And I also want to reflect, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I would have done it, but I think it was helpful for you to open up for public discussion while there was a motion on the table, which usually is reserved only for members of the board. But I think it served its purpose to.
Yeah, I like to make sure that everybody knows that we're taking everybody's input. Otherwise, I can stuck to the agenda and have public at the end. So I like to make sure everybody's involved and get everybody's input. Hope that's okay with the rest of the board, but that's to me is the proper.
Chair's prerogative.
So then you will table 4.
Yeah. So at this time, item number 4 will be tabled.
Jim, do we need to vote on tabling the issue?
No, we need to continue. We need to continue because table is killing.
No, okay, just making sure.
Chair
sure?
dictates that one.
Okay, we sure?
I'm fine with not.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Next.
Because another board's tabling is killing and continuing is moving it forward. So every board has different interpretations on that one. So, okay. All right. So no motion needed on that then. All right. So item number 5, nominations, elections 2020. And thank you everybody for your input. Thank you everybody online as well. Nominations, elections for 2024 advisory board, 2025, no?
2025, sorry. Yeah. That's what happens when you copy and paste from that.
All right, so open for discussion.
Okay, so Chair, if you're okay, I'll take over.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we will open it up for nominations first. Then we will close nominations once we feel that we've received all nominations for the chair. And then how we've traditionally done this in the past is the second most vote getting individual is automatically vice chair. We are happy to do 2 votes, but happy to go with second most high vote getter getting vice as well.
Oh, that's what these are for?
Well, I nominate Matthias.
All right. Matthias has been nominated.
I nominate Christine.
Ms. Shipley. Additional nominations? Seeing, hearing, none. We'll close nomination. All right, online, depends on how you want to do it. I'm happy to give you my cell phone number and you can text me your vote. If you're comfortable doing a voice vote, we can do it more easily that way. But I want to respect your anonymity if you would like to keep anonymity. But it cannot be a mix. So all of you need to text me or all of you need to voice vote.
They're not able to send you a message through direct message?
Live.
Oh, not directly private?
Okay. So Kelly, Christine, Charlie, Judy, do you guys have a preference? Anybody have a preference in here for anonymity? I'm gonna go with who speaks first.
You're muted, Ms. Jackson.
I think it should be, I think it should be anonymous.
I'm fine with just saying my vote.
Anonymous. Okay, so my cell phone number is 480-338-3516. So if you're online, send me a text with your vote and do say who you are. And again, that phone number is 480-338-3516. If you're in person, just write it on your slip.
I was gonna say, because here we kind of already did, but in person.
So just write the name of who you want to be chair. Second vote getter gets vice chair.
You got it.
I won't look. I'm not the counter anyway.
Oh, put my card down.
Against the match outfits.
Thank you for being willing to have me go get water. That's enough. Thank you.
Or yesterday.
We don't get to let the water out. It's taxpayer.
I'm like gonna take you home.
I used to be a bartender.
I claim we.
You can make some mean drinks.
It really just works this way, that we get dressed in the morning, we show up and go, wow. That's
funny.
cool.
Yeah, it's
So
funny.
this isn't the first time?
No,
No.
Mandy and I have actually shown up like almost in the same exact outfit. Yeah.
Yeah. We did once on purpose just to scare Roger, but outside of that.
We did.
When we were leaders. We're like, both of us be on one side. Watch what happens.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I apologize, but I believe both Matt and I have to leave by 11:30.
Yes.
Is that correct? 11:25 or so?
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that if we leave, we may lose quorum.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, maybe we can rearrange the agenda for any action items.
I'm just missing one vote.
Yeah, no, this is the only action item. The rest of them are just updates.
There we go.
So there's no action items. I don't want
Yeah, the rest of them are just
to, if we lose
updates.
quorum.
No, this is there were only two action items. This and
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we are at a perfect tie.
Oh, shit.
Perfect tie. Flip a coin.
I'm happy flipping a coin.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I don't, I'm happy to re-vote.
Hey, Kai, how many of them are we?
It's a tie?
It's a tie.
Well, that's encouraging.
That is
Or
encouraging.
they can just decide.
I would be happy if they decide which ones to be.
Between the two of you?
Yeah.
Matthias, Christine, you want to decide?
Yes, this is Christine. If I may, I would defer to Matthias, and I would be happy to serve next to him as vice chair.
And there you have it.
Done.
Thank you.
National election. So,
Let's not inject national election.
okay, Chairman, that is that. And Member Ramirez, I'm sorry I cut you off, but what were you offering?
No, I congratulations.
Related to the remainder of the agenda.
No, he was just making sure we didn't have any more action items because we might lose quorum at 11.
I was afraid that if we lose quorum, there was still action items.
Got it.
We
But
needed to move the agenda
But I think
around.
these three items, we get the updates. I mean, it's just update requests, we should go them pretty quick. The next item is just update from the department regarding advisory board recommendations to have additional discussion and outreach with stakeholders, educators. There's 2,000 points of the exam.
You need to reflect in the minutes the outcome of the vote.
Thank you, we did.
Correct. So the vote was a tie.
No.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
Through discussion, the current chair and the newly elected vice chair agreed that the current chair would continue serving. Matthias Vivale will be the 2025 advisory board chair. Christine Shipley, vice chair. Thank you, sir. Yes, congratulations.
So the next item is update on the review, the 2008 review work group regarding the licensee exam. I know in October you guys were gonna look some stuff up and bring back some updates or something to answer some of the questions and concerns. I just want to make sure we followed up and didn't leave that off the agenda from the over conversations we had. So, Commissioner or Jim, whoever has an update there.
With regard to the pre-licensing exam, we were able to accomplish 3 more meetings with the sliver of content material that you can share with any one subject matter expert without compromising the integrity of your exam. Just to kind of highlight some of the diversity of the type of subject matter experts, and this is of course under the guidance of the test-making professionals that we are working with. We had one person who's a salesperson who's been licensed since 1980. So seen a lot of things, still very active out there. Another person who's held a salesperson's license only since 2018. And another person who holds a broker's license since 2003. And so there's a wide variety of experience and expertise in the grading of the leveling of the questions so that you're ensuring that you're creating forms that candidate A and candidate B took an equally as hard and equally as comprehensive test in all of these different areas. We continue to follow the guidance of Pearson VUE and their psychometrician and their statistician and all the other ticians that they have that tell us you didn't do that right and we have to go back and redo it. We didn't make as much progress on the pre-licensing exam over the last quarter as we initially had charted in our hopes and dreams because we lost Assistant Commissioner Elena Kowaleski to the Senate majority. She is now the deputy
Director of Communications for the Senate Majority.
Yes, deputy. Yes. So she got a huge promotion, which came with all the things that huge promotions come with. And I didn't have the budget, nor the position, nor the ability to do enough to be able to offer her the same kind of extraordinary opportunity. So, and we wish her well, and you know, just extremely proud of her. So with that, Mandy Neat, our deputy commissioner, is now over all of operations. She has licensing, she has education, which is why I have a hard stop at noon because I had to take over some of her public speaking because she has all of operations right now. And she's rolled up her sleeves and she's dove right in. And it also enabled us to create 3 growth opportunities for people at the Department of Real Estate to grow into some additional responsibility. So we're really happy with that. With regard to outreach and newsletters, I'm just going to kind of cover it here because this is where it says outreach. We learned that the link, so after our last meeting, we really delved in and said, okay, you know, more communication channels, better. Let's, everybody seems to want this newsletter to happen. Let's try to make a newsletter happen. So we dove in. And we learned that the link where you sign up to receive our newsletter has been broken since 2020. Every person that has said, I want to receive that information since 2020, they filled in their information and our website said, yay, you're on the list, but you weren't on the list. So we have to open tickets. We don't manage our website directly. So we have to open tickets with the Arizona Department of Administration. And they love to close our tickets without resolving our issues. And so they, right. So we open a ticket.
That's not true. They said, yeah, this block doesn't work with MailChimp. And we were like, yeah, we don't use MailChimp, but thanks for replying.
Well, I mean, yeah, so they basically said that our website is not able to link with SendGrid is the system that we have to use. And we did, in the meantime, try and explore acquiring MailChimp because all of us are familiar with MailChimp and we love MailChimp, but we just learned shortly before this meeting that beautiful piece of software is not an option for us because they are not clear on AZ ramp. I don't know what AZ ramp is, but I naturally don't like it. It's probably something that protects our security. Yeah, right. So we have to follow those protocols. But you have a commitment from this department. We will continue to explore opening every mode of communication as quickly as we can with the guardrails that we have to follow as a government agency and with the amount of staffing that we have. But ideally, we would like to, start getting that newsletter out because that was something that was enough people have said it. They want it and they have value to it. So we're going to apply the human resources to it. As Mandy said, she doesn't need vacations.
Just for clarification, so what's the short-term fix if you can't go on?
Yeah,
the website?
so what we've been doing as a short-term fix is anything that is substantive that we need to get out to our licensees, like the change in the licensing status that happened by statute. And once we were able to actually process it, we actually sent out 78,000 direct emails to all licensees. And so there are licensees out there that are maybe getting information from us that aren't signed up for our newsletter, but if there's a substantive change that's happened or something that we need to do, that's going to be blasted out to everybody that we have.
But perhaps, is it an option to put, instead of fill out the form, if you would like to be added to this, the info at department.gov, is that an option?
So licensees will get the emails. Let's not dig in too deep. But licensees will get the emails. It's members of the public who cannot sign up.
And I'm not a licensee. It applies to me for.
And I can add you. But that's what we've been.
She's asking.
What we've been trying to do better also is making sure that we do send it to you guys whenever we are sending, just so you're aware when we're communicating. Because I think that was something that was missing is board members who are not licensees weren't actually aware when we were emailing licensees. So we created a advisory board email and added each of you to it. And so you will get them whenever we send out to all licensees.
Which is one of the reasons why I'm so grateful that the social or the virtual media profile has dramatically increased in the last couple of years. Because I used to go on LinkedIn, Twitter, or something, it was like 5 posts in the last 2 years. That doesn't dramatically change.
So the other thing that's really important with us in communicating with our community is rulemaking. Our docket is open. We are open for public comments right now. We are encouraging everybody to read the rules and to give us their feedback. And because, you only open up for a 5-year rule review every 5 years. So we'd like to get it right and do our best work.
And we saw that email come in this morning.
Yeah. Well, we've actually sent 92,622 emails with regard to rulemaking and asking for feedback. So because we don't have the newsletters going, we understand there are some things that the department does, and to not communicate those things just because we don't have a newsletter is unacceptable. So we're using all channels available to us, in addition to the ability that we have to email everybody that has a license or a certificate with us.
I think point of clarification, Chair, you said you received an email this morning about that.
Yeah.
That's actually directed directly toward development services. So the email that the commissioner was referring to was to all contacts that we have in our database.
You said that
received the docket opening, the 98,000. An additional 142 received it this morning, and that would be repeated from the 98,000. Because we're specifically trying to target industries so that we hear back on the rules that relate to them. So A1201 through B12, whatever it is. We're going to be meeting with development services to specifically talk about that.
We also have 2 social media posts scheduled to go out as reminders to the community. And don't forget, if you scroll down on ADRE.gov on our homepage are all of our most updated social media postings, which also have the links directly to the docket. So thank you for recognizing the pretty email I made yesterday.
Myself, I get them read them.
It took longer than she would have liked. Our software is not very friendly.
Liz, yeah.
Well, in addition to that, I have also personally reached out in person, by phone call, and by email to several other stakeholder type groups. So chambers of commerce are offering to host input from their members and that type of thing. So we're hoping that we can expand this reach to people who would be affected, but they're not necessarily even cognizant of the Department of Real Estate.
And we did already meet with AAR for a good 4 hours, I think it was, Aaron.
I was sick and medicated, but
You were lucky.
I think we had to skip a section too. So yeah, it was a good meeting, and I still owe Liz some language that I promised for this week. And just been behind.
He doesn't need a vacation either.
He doesn't need a vacation.
Yeah. All right, cool. That's it.
Yeah,
Any questions?
that's it for that item.
Very good.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, perfect. Update on what's been done regarding the advisory recommendation that the department led education. In regards to the AR forms, I know last time we discussed and the response we gave back to the educators was, we want more detail on what you're focusing on that forms. I mean, and that's the explanation you gave, and just want to get an update on that process. Have you seen any change to the better, to the worse? Is it the same? Just.
Well, we don't have anything else blowing up in education. So the one that was very contentious at our last advisory board meeting is scheduled for a hearing at the Office of Administrative Hearings. The other side requested an extension, which was happily granted. And so that's been kicked into March before we'll have a resolution from hearing from an administrative law judge on the determination by the Department of Real Estate that course did not measure up to the minimal course content required to receive credit to be continuing education. But one thing that we can do, and I get to highlight one of these forms, but I just want to brag about my amazing team at the department a little bit. We have actually undertaken redoing every single form at the Department of Real Estate to simplify it, to take out, a licensee's time is money. And I, for one, do not think that there should be things that a government agency asks you to put onto a form to achieve something that you need for your livelihood, where you go, I don't even know what that is. Where do I get that? What is that? And so we dove deep into our forms, and this year, probably in the next quarter, you'll see that we will be releasing one by one an entirely new forms library for interacting with the Department of Real Estate. We do have stats on how many pages and items and things that have been removed from the, what the public likes to call it, bureaucratic red tape, right? So we removed it. We brought it back to our statutory requirements and what's necessary for us to protect the public in real estate transactions, and how do we use this information, and we really pulled it back. So that said, one of our form revisions, and this form has been released already prior to the entire forms release because it was important and coming from this advisory board. There is now a sample formatting for a course outline for all instructors, because we want to give everybody the tools they need to be successful. And in that, it says, if forms are being used as examples to discuss elements of a contract, please ensure that the class understands Article 26 of the Arizona Constitution does not require the use of a specific contract form. Students need to learn aspects of a valid contract, risk management, not assume all contracts include the same terms, conditions, and clauses. Instruction on how to fill in the blanks on a form template does not meet minimum content requirements for continuing education credit. So we've made it really clear in our course. You want to create a course, here's the documents that you're going to pull up on our website to create a course. We also pride ourselves on working hand in hand and one-on-one with our instructors. We do have many instructors that have given us much praise and gratitude, because we will sit down and do a one-on-one and help them compile a course outline that meets the needs of the department to give CE credits. So that is my report on that.
All right, thank you. And I wasn't referring to a specific educator, but I guess my question more was to clarify, because I remember Mr. Charlie and Bill, they wanted to make sure that we sent out or communicate to educators that AR forms, and that explains it. So they were notified. Hey, it's not because they were under the impression they couldn't. So that got notified and updated.
So the next will be our education town hall.
Okay.
We'll do a big announcement on that and go over it with educators. And then we always recap the education town hall in a newsletter format that will be emailed out to all of our educators.
The Education Town Hall is on February 6th at 10 a.m. And you can join us on Google Meet. You'll also receive an email update on that.
And it'll be on our socials. So.
Thank you. And then the last one is updates. Last time people were complaining that they weren't getting notified of extensions and so forth. Did we prove them wrong? Did we find out what they were talking about and make sure that you are doing what needs to be done and so forth?
Yeah. So here's the thing. We reported it last time that we have not done this. But then I doubled down after the last advisory board meeting, and our two people in compliance said, no, if they ask for an extension, we just give it to them. It's always been that way, and nothing has changed since you started. I specifically asked our assistant commissioner over audits, investigations, enforcement, and compliance, are we denying? Have you denied? No, we have not. Mandy has run that department since she's started here, also unfamiliar with it. So at this point, it's one of those things of, you got to tell us who it is. And I can tell you for sure it is not happening now. But unless whoever it is that is aggrieved with the department will come forward and say, you know, I'm not receiving fair treatment, there's no record of it at the department. There's no denials of extensions that I can find in our record anywhere, and it is not the practice, policies and procedures of this department to do so.
We were discussing two different items. There were the extensions for the courses and then extensions for the complaints process and so forth, where we had
This was specific to complaints having extensions, allowing for attorneys to come on board.
Yeah.
Coding. And that's what the commissioner was speaking to. I don't think there's ever been an issue with, the education would.
The education, we follow the law. Okay. So the law says your administrative period is this is how the clock counts, and then your substantive period is this, and this is how the clock counts, and this department follows the law. So.
Just want to make sure those items were brought back in the minutes for the record, because again, I know you guys were going to look into it, and I don't want people to say that we should brush that under the map. So, right.
Yeah, and I'll say the recommendations were not actually passed on those, but we were happy to give updates on them.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, the next item, Arizona Department of Real Estate reports.
Yeah, so wow, we've been busy. When are we not busy?
Understaffed and busy.
Yeah, well, you know, understaffed and busy, but no money. So there you have it. You get no money for that. So I did get to share with the advisory board a compilation of some of the emails that we've received from licensees, stakeholders, and I know stakeholders, that word has been used very often here, but I think it's important to remember that the Department of Real Estate has over 20 stakeholder groups. And so when we hear stakeholder here, my understanding, and if I'm wrong, I need to be corrected, so I'm putting it out there to the advisory board, is the stakeholder that we are talking about is Arizona Realtors, not the other 19 stakeholder groups that, or there's more than that, but, not all of the other stakeholder groups that we work with. So with regard to that, what I'd like to share is that Arizona Realtors installed they install a new president every year. This year's president approached me at an event and said, let's build bridges. And so President Cindy Reddy and I have made a commitment to one another that before we press the destruct button, before we press the we can't work together, this is bad, that we will at least have a conversation with each other and give each other that last opportunity to, can we work together? So we were headed down a path where it did kind of look like we weren't going to be able to work together. I remembered my commitment to President Reddy, and I reached out to her. She did intervene. And, I'd like to say that this department has now had a very successful session with Arizona Realtors in our legislative session. What we're looking forward to, what they're looking forward to, and a discussion. This department is very successfully working with Arizona Realtors on receiving their feedback on our 5-year rule review. This department also just successfully worked with Arizona Realtors in updating the buyer advisory that is a co-authored document between the department and the Arizona Realtors. And we look forward to continuing that work on the buyer's advisory, because with all the law changes and rule changes and business changes out there, we always need to make sure that we're presenting timely and our very best work. So, I don't want there to be this perception that we refuse to work with our stakeholder groups. We are very actively working with all of our stakeholder groups, and it's very important to me that we continue to do so. We are open in rulemaking, so public comment, please read the rules. You can get the docket right off of our website. You open the docket, you'll see all the marked up rule changes that we have. When we say give us feedback on the rules, I need a little more than I don't like it.
Or I love it.
More. I love it, right? Please be specific. With regard to this rule, I feel it would negatively impact my business, my livelihood, whatever it is, because of ABC, DEF. Because if you just simply say, I don't like it, that doesn't give us enough to evaluate, are we really creating the best possible guardrails and guidelines and regulation for this industry. So please give us substantive comments as you look at the rules. And if you see things that you disagree with, give us something to work with, because we want to work with you. We want to understand where you're coming from. We know where we were coming from in asking for those revisions. And a lot of times there can be win-win situations. And despite what some might say, I promise you, I am a humble enough person to say, did I get it right? Did we get this right? Did we, we can't think of every possible scenario. We have our knowledge in our brains. And so this is why there is a public comment period. And I mean, shy of like begging, I don't know what else this department can do to engage and say, we want to hear from you. I do believe we are leaving rulemaking open, the public comment section open longer than we are required to as well, because I want everyone to have ample time, and I didn't want that to get swept under the rug during the holidays. And so I do believe we extended that. I'm going to kick the can to Jim just to cover anything in rulemaking that I missed.
Yeah, so right now, just for absolute clarity, we are in the docket opening stage, which means we're gathering informal feedback. And that's why we really want you to be, Member Harrington, thank you so much. I knew you had to leave early, but I appreciate you staying. So we really want that informal feedback. Give us the feedback, as the commissioner said, to make it specific, make it direct. We will happily reach out to you for the why, but if you're able to include the why, by all means do. As the commissioner said, and I was talking to Aaron before the meeting started, we absolutely spent, as a leadership team, and with the actual subject matter experts internally, over 70 hours poring over every single rule, making sure that it met what the current business is, what our expectations for rule and compliance would look like. But now we need to hear from you as the public, as the regulated community. So get us that feedback. Next step will be the proposed rulemaking. And as the commissioner said, we left the public comment period for the docket opening longer than necessary. We're going to leave the public comment period for the proposed rulemaking twice as long as what is required by law. So really, no excuse not to get us feedback. And we really want the best rules moving forward.
We do. The law book. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It's funny. Mandy has the most beaten up law book at the Department of Real Estate. Like it's just holding on by threads at this point. Or, no, actually, it's being held together by packing tape. She's had to like tape her law book back together. We're too cheap to give her another one. So no, we've tabbed it and marked it all up and everything. But Jim, Deputy Nupp, has undertaken the enormous project of updating the law book. And this year, we kind of threw out the way that it was done before and said, is this really the best product that we can produce for all the people that utilize our law book? So one of the changes that you're going to see in the next edition of the printed law book is, and also the online version, is that there are no longer two columns. Lo and behold, with persons with disabilities and screen readers, when you have two columns, it's not as friendly to them. And so when we had that, everything that we do with a lens of inclusivity. We think about our friends with disabilities and how we can produce the best product that government can produce for them as well. So you're going to see that it's no longer going to be in two columns, it's going to be in one column, and that was the reasoning behind it. We also took the liberty to put in all capital letters and highlight in yellow the changes that happened over the last legislative session. I know, isn't that great, Lynette? So, I can't tell you how many times I think for instructors, it'll be very helpful because the changes in the law book are just going to jump right out at you for you to know what to put in those course outlines and what to teach, what's new. I think it'll help lawyers. I think it will help my staff right here inside the department who, we live in this law book. The other thing that you'll note is that we made those links in our online law book work. And so when you go through the table of contents and you click on a particular statute, it's going to jump you down that PDF document to exactly the part of the document that you need, which is handy many, many times. So we worked, I say we worked really hard on it. Jim worked really hard on it, inclusive of having to learn an entirely new software platform. So those will be going to print probably in the next week. Hopefully. That's probably aggressive. Always aggressive with my timelines. But I hope. It's going to print very soon, and we'll do a big announcement when paper copies are available for those of you that I use both versions, but I do love a paper law book for some reason. I wanted to report out some numbers because they're always fun for you guys to see. So in audits and investigations in 2023, we did 585 audits and investigations. And in the fourth quarter, we did 126. We approved in the fourth quarter 7 new real estate schools. And in 2023 or 2024 entirely, we did 18. So 18 new schools over the last year, and in the fourth quarter of 2024, we did 7. For instructors, for the last year, we did 111, and in the fourth quarter of 2024, we approved 31 new instructors. And for courses, we approved 870 courses for the year. And in the fourth quarter, we approved 155 in the fourth quarter alone. So although we did have some staff changes, I feel very good with those numbers. That continuity of operations was maintained, although there were many of us, mainly Mandy, burning both ends of the candlestick. So thank you, Mandy, for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I was like, ooh, this is a lot.
What's really great is when the commissioner goes and publicly speaks for educators to go up here and say, hey, Mandy called me on a Saturday. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Why? Because licensees and school administrators, I know you don't quit working.
Yeah. And then other than that, I think that will conclude my report. Did I miss anything, you guys? Yeah, I think that's it.
Any other question from anyone else?
Yes, sir. So I did want to cover, sorry.
I just had a question, if you don't mind. Is there a date of when the informal process for the rules and the public comments will be concluded? Is there like a date? I know
it's on my,
it's longer than normal, 120 days.
It's on my whiteboard.
I didn't know when it started.
March something,
It's March something.
late March.
Gotcha. That's proposed rulemaking.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. But the
I want to say it's
January.
mid to late January.
January 23rd?
Something like that.
Around the 23rd.
So January 23rd will be the end of the
For this current
public comments
informal, the informal.
informal process. And then,
Yeah.
And then we go into a formal process and another comment period.
And that's what ends in.
that's what ends in late.
That's what ends in March.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, rulemaking, again, just to reiterate, Liz needs those comments within the next 2 weeks from anybody. Legislation. So legislature started yesterday, kicked off with all the formal ceremony. We already have about 300 bills that were introduced by the end of yesterday. I'm tracking already for the industry and department about 30 of them. So about 10% are impacting, right? A lot of them are water. A lot of them are development related. There's one that speaks directly to membership in an association and being required by an employer, prohibition related to that. There's a lot of bills that we're going to be following this year, and as you know, and just to iterate for purposes of the public, we in the department follow the bills as they relate to the industry, as they relate to the department, as they relate to consumers. And we will weigh in and provide the governor's office with feedback on how we believe those implementation of the bills would go, as well as the policy itself if asked. That is our role. We do not provide lawmakers with our thoughts unless if we're directed to by the governor's office. The governor's office is the policymaker for the department, and if somebody from the governor's office directs us to interact with legislators, we 100% will. Speaking of, each year in basically September, August timeframe, we submit legislative proposals to the governor's office for them to consider, and they either approve and allow us to run the bills, or they do not approve and we are not allowed to run the bills. We were approved to run 2 bills this year. We have already met with AMA related to the bills. We've met with ADRE related to the bills. We've talked to Arizona Counties, Association of Counties. And so we're starting our stakeholder outreach because on Wednesday is whenever we were told that we were approved. It's pretty late in the season for approval, but we're trying to play catch up now. First one is going to be receivership. Receivership, we already have it for timeshares. Basically, if the company is going under or we have an investigation where it looks like there's fraudulent misuse of funds, we are able to approach Superior Court. Typically, if you're not aware, our cases go through administrative law to an ALJ, administrative law judge, at the Office of Administrative Hearings. In receivership instances, we go to Superior Court. This is a measure more than administrative law. We would have to provide evidence for that judge to grant receivership. We, of course, are very open about not having staffing. We certainly don't have staffing to handle a receivership or disbursement of funds for a defunct company. We would need, if granted by a judge, the ability to grant that receivership to likely a law firm or an attorney to take over the funds, to disperse any funds after we finished our license matter. Okay, we're already have it for timeshares. We're seeking to have it for property management. Christine, we have talked to AMA about this. We're expecting feedback by, I think, Thursday is when Kelsey is going to be requiring the feedback from members of AMA. But we're open to feedback. We're basically just trying to address a problem that exists within the department. We get the complaints from tenants. We get the complaints from property owners. Property owners will come to us and say they're no longer getting the funds from the property management company related to their rentals. Tenants will come to us astoundingly and say, I can't pay my property manager anymore. Their doors are shut. Nobody's answering. And so that's typically whenever we get involved. Our cases, property management companies, are pretty complex. And especially if it's a defunct company, those subpoenas go unanswered. And so our cases, an investigation of a property management company, it's not unlikely to go 60 to 90 days. That represents 3 cycles of rent coming into a company that is either fraudulently misusing the funds or no longer dispersing the funds to the property owners who now have risk with their property and being able to maintain payments on their properties. We're seeking the receivership with property management companies. We're open to feedback at this point. Second one is related to deed fraud. We expect 7 or 8 different proposals related to deed fraud because it is such an enormous problem right now in the state of Arizona. Our proposal is going to try to amend Title Alert. Title Alert is something that I can register as a property owner with my county recorder to be notified anytime something is recorded with my name, property used in it. Our amendment will be to create what we are referring to in the statute or legislation as notice of pending sale. This notice of pending sale is going to be filed by an escrow agent, and it basically is at the time of opening of escrow, they would file this notice that would trigger title alerts. And what it is intended to do is simply notify a property owner earlier in the process. The problem with title alert as it relates to deed fraud is title alert occurs at the time of or recordation is at the time of conveyance, and that's after the sale's already complete.
After the fraud has been completed.
Fraud is completed, it's too late, and as I believe Kelly was outlining, when the sale has occurred, it is very difficult. You have a bona fide, my battery's about to die. You have a bona fide buyer, and you have a fraudulent seller, and you have a property owner who is out their property, and it's up to the judge to then settle what's going to go on with the rest of that property. I'm gonna have to turn it over pretty quick, but basically what we're doing is just inserting this notice of pending sale. We're working with the escrow association to make sure that it's not a problem for them, and we're working with the counties to make sure that they have the tools that they need. I have one, it's plugged in, I don't know what's wrong with it.
Oh, maybe it's off. There you
It's
go.
on.
I was gonna say, maybe the switch is out.
My laptop was about to die for everyone on mine, so I was freaking out, but my extension cord was just off. But those are the two proposals we're running. I have been asked to be involved again with what we refer to largely incorrectly, but colloquially as wildcatting. I've been asked to participate in the process of running a bill that would impact the need to get a public report prior to obtaining a single-family home building permit if you own 6 or more within a designated area. And so what this is meant to do is if you have 6 or more single-family homes within a designated area, you're likely selling them. You would likely need a public report. There are exemptions from that. If you're able to prove up your water, or if you're in a non-AMA, meeting that water requirement of just having an adequacy report, whether it's inadequate or adequate, would get you out of the requirement for a public report. Those are just beginning stages. I just saw the draft come in today, but we've been asked to participate in that conversation as well by the governor. So that's kind of the update on legislation. Again, there's 300 bills already. I do want to talk about RFP. Sorry. Request for proposals. As you know, last year we ran an IT bill, IT fund bill. It would have been $12.50 a year on licensees to fund a new system. Our IT senior coder still here. He'd probably hate me for telling you personal details, but he is now a grandpa. On Christmas Day, he became a grandfather, his first grandchild. We are just now counting down the days till it's coming. Kevin notified us last year that he was going to be retiring no matter what by the end of 2026. That immediately put us into high gear to understand that we need to get a commercially supported software. What we use that Kevin built is everything that licensees and the public use. Message Center, Kevin. Realm, where all of your data is stored, Kevin. It's even the document management system. It is everything we interact with and that you interact with has been Kevin built, customized by Kevin. We just on Friday, the licensee login was out from 10 to 8:30 in the morning. Kevin's the only one that could bring that online. For me to get somebody on contract, I'm telling you, it'd be about 3 months for me to work with the state procurement office to get somebody on contract. That's Friday. On Monday of the same week, last week, our server started to melt down.
Do you know how terrifying that is to have like your one IT person send you a chat saying, hey, our server is melting down. I'm going to have to shut down the system. I about had a heart attack. Okay, keep going.
Because as his manager, I was pretty incensed that he was doing it without warning. He sent out a message to all staff saying, I'm going to need to restart the server right now, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, could you give us 5 to 10 minutes? And he said, no, it's melting down right now. Okay. So if that just last week, 2 instances where we would have been high and dry as a department, and that scares us, honestly.
And Jim says 3 months to get a contract person on with us because state procurement is a beast all in of itself. But I would say we would first have to go through the Office of Strategic Planning and Budget and do that thing where you ask for more money. Because so we would have to get a supplemental funding package from the governor's office and money before we would even, or simultaneously, or however that process works. They will tell me if that day ever comes. So I think we would have been down for, potentially 3 to 6 months of not having a way to renew licenses. But we have Kevin right now, so there's that.
So the problem has not gone away is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're working on an RFP, request for proposals. So we last year completed our business analysis, our current state, future state, process improvement, and business requirements. The business requirements portion is a result of those first things that I mentioned. And the business requirements are where we turn over to a vendor and they say how they would meet those business requirements. So we need a system that manages licensee data, allows for workflow of a certain application. Vendor comes back and says, this is how we would meet that. That's one business requirement. We have 500, I think, 500 to 700 is what it was. We're now working in the RFP. It's a 90-page document that we're working with Asset and I don't know what it stands for, Arizona, whatever, their IT portion of procurement. And then SPO, State Procurement Office, to make sure that we get everything legally lined up. Where we are going to put the RFP out probably the 1st of February, so 3 weeks from now. We will be soliciting vendors to respond to the RFP. I believe that is due sometime in March or April. They will do demonstrations to us as a staff. We will grade them. We have an evaluation form. This one is an evaluation form that I had to design, so it's a bit more stringent. And from that, we would select a vendor who can meet the requirements that we've built out. We have an expectation from our business analysts doing research in other states and similarly situated agencies that it's going to be somewhere in around the 3 million mark. That's going to be about, I think it was 2.4 million for implementation, 800,000 for ongoing licensing fees and vendor support of the product. So 800,000 will never go away. 2.2 or 2.4 million is going to be just the implementation. We will have contingencies since we do not have funding. The IT bill fund was not successfully passed, as you all know, and so we are going to award a contract contingent on funding, contingent on ITAC approval, and contingent on Homeland Security approval. Homeland Security approval and ITAC fund approval cannot be done until we have funding. So we will have a awarded vendor just waiting in the wings come July 1st. We know that session will not end until about September. It's going to be a long one because, of course, the election was this time. So any interest in ending early is not this year. Okay, where we are is we're hoping for an appropriation. We've made our case to the governor's office. As a department, we are not allowed to lobby the budget. That is the governor's job within the OSPB, as well as the governor's office itself. We can lobby a lot of bills if permitted by the governor's office. We will never be allowed to permitted to lobby for a budgetary item. So we have submitted our budget request for 3.2 million. If it comes to us and it will be an appropriation, we won't know about it until the final days of session. That's where we are. A pretty precarious place to be in.
To make it a bit more precarious, the way the real estate budget works is anything that we have not spent by June 30th is swept back into the general fund. So if we are able to acquire a budget appropriation, if session takes a long time and we don't get to the end of the session until September, August, then we don't get our appropriation until the budget is passed. The budget is the last thing that they do as the session. And so our appropriation, even though our fiscal year would start July 1st, we're very likely not to receive funds until September. which would then give us from September to June 30th for the complete implementation, because what we learned in,
So we have to go to ITAC after we
Right,
get the funding and
right.
it's another 45 to 60 days.
right. So we have to go to ITAC, that's 45 to 60 days before you can even start the implementation part of it, which gives us a very short window to get this implemented, working up to the specifications of the RFP, and approved and submitted to the CSB, Central Services Bureau, for payment, because we cannot pay anything until the work is 100% completed and accepted. So this is not something that we have the statutory ability to sort of say, hey, we've awarded this contract and this money was for that, and can we hold on to this money to make sure that we do that? The Department of Real Estate is not structured that way, and that would take a statutory change.
There is my update on the RFP and where we are on the IT fund.
All right, thanks.
So pretty precarious.
The only thing that gives me, like, that nauseous feeling in your stomach.
IT.
Yeah.
You lose Wi-Fi in your house for 5 minutes, the kids are going
Right.
crazy.
Right.
End of the world.
That's
End of the
right.
world, yeah.
That's right. It's a bad day for us if this happens. So.
That's all I have there.
All right, thank you. Anything on this end?
Oh, no, I just wanted to.
Operations manager.
Well, I just wanted to mention that it was interesting, the timing, because it's not just licensing portals that we're all thinking of. Barbara Freestone, the education administrator for Arizona Realtors, reached out that same morning and said, is it me or is it you why I can't log in? And I was like, it's me. Barbara. Well, she goes by Barb, if you know her, but it's just, this is so, if this happened, I'm sorry, it's going to take 6 months to a year to approve your licenses, right? Like, I have 22 staff members right now and 87,000 licensees who are either at expired status, eligible, inactive, or active as total, which are all license statuses that we're responsible for. So please help me in doing the good deeds and getting all your stuff turned in, and plenty of time for us to process it. So don't wait till that last week anymore to do your continuing ed. And thank you all for your continued support and cooperation with the Department of Real Estate.
And nobody is happier than me about the operations changes.
I'm just learning things I never thought were real.
They are. They're real.
No, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, nothing, there's more reports. Our next scheduled meeting is set for April 30th, 2024. But again, we might be having a meeting prior to that, depending on how everything goes. I still have the call to public open and never close it. So any comments, speak now, forever hold your peace. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm behind you, so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to say, as the commissioner of managing, you know, I'm involved in multiple avenues of real estate. I just have cemeteries I haven't been in, or timeshares, right?
And campgrounds? Membership
Campgrounds? No, okay.
Go
So
for it,
that, I think outside of that, I've been in all of them. Property management's the worst, so just throwing that out there. But
Second that.
anyway, what I just wanted to bring up in front of the advisory board is how well I've been personally able to navigate the department down to even turning in something odd. I followed your rule. If it feels icky, just reach out. Yeah. And so I did call and it got removed. You had to pay to be able to submit an application, like to be able to buy a property. The agent had to pay. It was just really odd. And I looked then on our portal MLS and it had been removed within a couple of days. Also along that line, we were the agents representing the buyer that wanted the property. So we're okay, fine, we'll pay $250. You want it, we'll figure that out on the back end. So I had let the department know, can you wait till we see if we get the property before you call them? And she was absolutely, because I said, I just don't want to get in the way of this. This just doesn't feel right. So I wanted to say along that line, and then on the development service avenue, how many pages did the public report go from?
So the public report application
to 7?
Yeah.
24 to 7.
24 to 7, and it was more just removing redundancy.
Yeah.
So it didn't remove any of the core things. I think you had to put your address on there multiple times. And so that was a nice avenue. So
Less
just kind of,
scary.
yeah, just kind of letting you know that I've been in commercial real estate, so all the different avenues where it feels like commercial real estate is finally being seen. which is nice. Not that they cared not being seen, but so just wanted to add that. And then with defraud, I'm also an educator too. So like I said, only a couple I haven't done. I really enjoyed teaching the defraud classes and just opening that up where we've gotten some really robust information. For example, one of the cases that people were really involved in it, where it was a woman that her dad had died. She was a licensee. Dad died. She goes drive by the property and there's a for sale sign in the lawn. Yeah, so it's just interesting to hear the different fraud stories that come up to be able to be educated on how to stop them and how to navigate that. And like we said, kind of where to go from there. But I commend both just as person in the public, the advisory board commissioner, and everyone for having the disagreements and moving to see what's the best for the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to add to that, I will never send you an email asking for a gift card or only this here. So
So I got another one of those last week and I just said, no. And they came back and they said, what do you mean no? And I said, no is a complete sentence. Well, when are you going to be free? I'm not. Well, thank you very much.
yeah, so thank you for letting people know when those spam or whatever you call them go out, but it's just, I don't know where that's coming, not mine. So, all right, any additional public? Hearing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.